The National Electrical Code, or NEC, Article 424 covers fixed electric space heating equipment. Section 424.35 specifically addresses the location of heaters. For heaters mounted on the wall, they must be located not less than 4 inches, which is 102 mm, from the floor and not less than 8 inches, which is 203 mm, from the ceiling. Heaters mounted in the floor must be located not less than 1 inch, which is 25 mm, from combustible materials. And heaters suspended from the ceiling or mounted on the ceiling must be located not less than 3 inches, which is 76 mm, from combustible materials. There are additional requirements that specifically apply to baseboard heaters. Firstly, baseboard heaters must be installed along walls that are parallel to the direction of the main airflow in the room. Secondly, baseboard heaters shall not be installed in areas where they may be subject to mechanical damage or where they may obstruct access to other equipment or appliances. Thirdly, baseboard heaters should not be installed in locations where they will be exposed to water or moisture. It's important to understand why these clearances and placement guidelines are in place. The primary reason is safety. Maintaining proper distances from combustible materials like wood, fabrics, and paper helps prevent fires. Electric baseboard heaters generate heat, and if they are too close to flammable materials, the risk of ignition increases significantly. The NEC provides minimum clearance requirements to mitigate this risk. The 4-inch clearance from the floor for wall-mounted heaters helps prevent accidental contact with floor coverings or items placed on the floor. The 8-inch clearance from the ceiling prevents heat buildup near the ceiling, which could damage the ceiling material or ignite combustible material stored near the ceiling. For floor-mounted heaters, the 1-inch clearance from combustible materials ensures that the heat generated by the heater does not directly contact flammable materials in the floor structure. Similarly, the 3-inch clearance for ceiling-mounted heaters protects the ceiling and any item stored near the ceiling from excessive heat. The requirement to install baseboard heaters along walls that are parallel to the main airflow in the room is intended to maximize the efficiency of the heating system. By placing the heaters in the path of the airflow, the heat is distributed more evenly throughout the room. Avoid placing baseboard heaters in areas where they may be subject to mechanical damage or where they may obstruct access to other equipment or appliances. This is to protect the heaters from damage and to ensure that they do not interfere with the operation of other systems in the home. For example, placing a heater behind a door or in a high-traffic area could lead to damage or obstruction. Avoiding locations where the heaters will be exposed to water or moisture is also crucial for safety. Water and electricity are a dangerous combination, and exposing the heaters to moisture could create a shock hazard or cause the heaters to malfunction. It's important to note that there may be conflicting information on the subject of electric baseboard heater placement due to different requirements in local building codes or manufacturers' instructions. Local building codes may have more stringent requirements than the NEC, and manufacturers' instructions may provide specific guidance for the installation of their products. In cases where there are conflicting requirements, it's always best to consult with a qualified electrician or refer to the relevant code requirements for the specific installation location. A qualified electrician will be familiar with the local codes and regulations and can provide guidance on the proper installation of electric baseboard heaters. They can also identify any potential hazards or code violations and recommend solutions to ensure a safe and compliant installation. When installing electric baseboard heaters, it's also important to follow the manufacturer's instructions carefully. The manufacturer's instructions will provide specific details on the installation process, including wiring requirements, mounting procedures, and safety precautions. Failure to follow the manufacturer's instructions could void the warranty or create a safety hazard. In addition to the clearance and placement requirements, there are other considerations to keep in mind when installing electric baseboard heaters. Firstly, ensure that the electrical circuit is properly sized to handle the load of the heaters. Electric baseboard heaters draw a significant amount of current, and if the circuit is not properly sized, it could overload and trip the circuit breaker. Secondly, use the correct type of wiring and connectors for the installation. The wiring and connectors must be rated for the voltage and current of the heaters, and they must be properly installed to prevent loose connections or short circuits. Thirdly, properly ground the heaters to protect against electric shock. Grounding provides a path for fault current to flow back to the source, tripping the circuit breaker and preventing a shock hazard. In summary, the NEC provides specific guidelines for the placement of electric baseboard heaters to ensure safety and efficiency. These guidelines cover clearances from combustible materials, placement in relation to airflow, and protection from mechanical damage and moisture. It's important to consult with a qualified electrician and refer to the relevant code requirements for the specific installation location to ensure safe and compliant installation. Always follow the manufacturer's instructions carefully and take precautions to protect against electrical hazards. The NEC Article 424, Fixed Electric Space Heating Equipment, goes into further detail on installation. Regarding 424.9 spacing between supply conductors and electric baseboard heaters, the distances separating the supply conductors shall comply with Table 400.5. For flexible cords and Table 402.3. For fixture wires. This means, for example, that thermoplastic insulation or Type T insulation requires a separation distance of at least 1 inch. Regarding 424.10 clearances from other objects and openings, fixed electric space heating equipment shall have clearances as follows. Firstly, surface-mounted heaters shall be located where they are protected from physical damage. Secondly, equipment shall be installed so that the airflow from the unit is not obstructed by furniture, drapes, or other obstructions. Thirdly, equipment shall be installed with clearances as specified on the equipment nameplate. Fourthly, equipment shall be installed so that the unit is accessible for maintenance and repair. Regarding 424.11 location, fixed electric space heating equipment shall be located as follows. Firstly, equipment shall be located where it is not subject to physical damage. Secondly, equipment shall be located where it is not subject to corrosive fumes or vapors. Thirdly, equipment shall be located where it is not subject to excessive moisture. Fourthly, equipment shall be located where it is not subject to vibration. Fifthly, equipment shall be located where it is not subject to excessive ambient temperatures. Regarding 424.12, mounting fixed electric space heating equipment shall be mounted as follows. Firstly, equipment shall be mounted in accordance with the manufacturer's instructions. Secondly, equipment shall be mounted so that it is securely supported. Thirdly, equipment shall be mounted so that it is level. Fourthly, equipment shall be mounted so that it is not subject to excessive stress or strain. Fifthly, equipment shall be mounted so that it is accessible for maintenance and repair. Regarding 424.13 wiring, fixed electric space heating equipment shall be wired as follows. Firstly, equipment shall be wired in accordance with the manufacturer's instructions. Secondly, equipment shall be wired using conductors of the correct ampacity. Thirdly, equipment shall be wired using conductors of the correct temperature rating. Fourthly, equipment shall be wired using conductors that are suitable for the environment. Fifthly, equipment shall be wired using conductors that are properly protected from physical damage. Sixthly, equipment shall be wired using conductors that are properly grounded. Regarding 424.14, overcurrent protection, fixed electric space heating equipment shall be protected by overcurrent devices as follows. Firstly, equipment shall be protected by overcurrent devices of the correct ampacity. Secondly, equipment shall be protected by overcurrent devices that are suitable for the environment. Thirdly, equipment shall be protected by overcurrent devices that are properly installed. Fourthly, equipment shall be protected by overcurrent devices that are readily accessible. Fifthly, equipment shall be protected by overcurrent devices that are properly maintained. Section 424.38 deals with area restrictions. Unless approved for the purpose, heating equipment shall be protected to guard against contact by persons or objects where 1 it is subject to physical damage or 2 is located in a damp or wet location. This is important to take into consideration for areas that could experience moisture issues. 424.39 deals with the fire-resistant rating. Where fire-rated walls or partitions appear, the fire-resistant rating of the wall or partition shall be maintained. Chapter 3 of the NEC addresses wiring and protection and must be adhered to. Article 300 is wiring methods and materials. Article 310 is conductors for general wiring. Article 314 is outlet, device, pole, and junction boxes, conduit bodies, fittings, and handhole enclosures. Article 320 is armored cable, type AC. Article 330 is metal-clad cable, type MC. Article 334 is non-metallic sheet cable, types NM, NMC, and NMS. Article 340 is underground feeder and branch circuit cable, type UF. These are some, but not all, of the articles that may apply to wiring electric baseboard heaters. Article 210 addresses branch circuits and is also in Chapter 3. Article 210.11 C3 addresses dwelling unit branch circuits, specifically for heating, air conditioning, and ventilation equipment. In addition to the number of branch circuits required by other parts of this section, at least one 20-amp branch circuit shall be provided to supply the receptacle outlets required by 210.52. E. This circuit shall have no other outlets. Exception no. One receptacle outlet installed solely for the electrical supply to and support of an electric room air conditioner shall not be required to be supplied by a 20-amp branch circuit. Exception no. To a branch circuit of not less than 20 amps shall be permitted to supply a single outlet for equipment such as electric space heating that complies with 424.3. This means that the branch circuit, at a minimum, must be rated for 20 amps and no other outlets can be on the circuit except in certain situations. 424.3. Says that individual electric space heating equipment shall be supplied from a branch circuit having a dedicated circuit breaker or fuse. The rating of the branch circuit shall not exceed the ampacity of the heating equipment. This ensures the proper protection of the heating equipment from overcurrent. A lot goes into proper electrical installations. Wiring must be inspected. A licensed electrician knows the National Electrical Code and local codes, which can prevent issues.